Hello everyone, my name is Kathy Milby, and in this video I'm going to present my case for why we need to teach Western civilization courses. Now, we're of an age, most of us, where we had to take a Western Civ course, whether it was in high school or an earlier degree. It was a course you had to take, sort of like English 101 or basic math. Now, sometimes the classes were fun. And other times, it was more like the history teacher from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Anyone, raised or lowered? You remember that guy. Well, today, our students are up in arms about everything, especially something like Western civilization classes. To them, it's really just a bunch of old dead guys telling them stuff that they find reprehensible. Now, Bradley Birzer talks about this in his article, Who Put the West in Western Civilization? He talks about the political correctness movement that began in the United States in the 80s and how critics have complained about Western civilization classes, and they call it racist or sexist or imperialist. Yeah, I can see that. He also goes on to say that a vast majority of schools and colleges, the West is something hideous and embarrassing, to the point that the term itself can trigger almost automatic hatred and dismissal. Yikes. So if you have such a strong reaction from your students, how can you really go about teaching a course on Western civilization? Is it still viable in a society today where everybody is so easily offended? Well, the answer is unequivocally yes. I've got 3 reasons why we should be teaching this course. Now, this one reason is going to be hard for some people to understand, because they hit the label and they stop. They hear Western civilization and they come to a screeching halt. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. But here's a wild and outrageous concept of reason 1. Ready? Just because it's called Western civilization doesn't mean it's just about America and Europe. I know. Shocker. Western civilization covers many different civilizations and topics. When we look at what makes up our ideas of Western civilization, we can see ideas sparking from the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Sumerians, and on and on and on. And we've got different religions into this as well. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, even the pagans got something with this. And they all contribute to our collective knowledge that is considered Western civilization. So if Western civilization is a conglomeration of many different civilizations, what makes it meaningful to us? According to Lawrence Birken, a civilization may be regarded as the largest cultural unit which a linear history may be written. Now, that's an interesting prospect, a cultural unit. Let's look at that idea for a minute. Kwame Appiah wrote that culture is an organic unity. Each component, like organs in a body, carefully adapted to occupy a particular place, each part essential to the functionings of a whole. And he goes on to say that culture isn't a box checked off on the questionnaire of humanity. It is a process you join, a life lived with others. So if we use this idea of a shared culture, for many different civilizations, many different people, many different ideas, then we can make the choice to explore the concepts of Western civilization as a part of a shared global library. It's not just information from old dead guys, but a vast sea of knowledge from many different people, places, and perspectives. And they all want to be explored. And putting it that way kind of sounds like fun. Hey, we're explorers. We're on an adventure. We're not just bystanders of history. Now that seems like we need to cue up some fabulous theme music. Sorry, no theme music, but we can move on to reason number 2. And this one's a simple one. Here's where we look at our students themselves. Not every student is going to come from the same background or going to have the same experiences. So if they don't have the same of everything, how are you going to say they have the same knowledge about Western civilization? To say that we can get rid of Western civilization courses is to say that every single student comes from the same middle-class American school, all taught by the same curriculum and the same teachers, and it's all the very same. Boom. Nobody was better. Nobody had more resources. Nobody had less resources. No one had a teacher that was more passionate or less passionate. Well, let's face it. We aren't a cookie-cutter society, and we don't have a cookie-cutter education system. Guess what? Our kids aren't cookie-cuttered either. Some come from harsher backgrounds and have fought their way just to get where they are right now. Some could be foreign exchange students that have come to the United States to study, and their government and their culture is completely different from ours. You know, some could be coming from undocumented families. The list goes on and on. And history isn't like math or science. 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2. There isn't an empirical set of rules that you follow that will help you understand why people did what they did. History isn't cut and dry. It's about people and their lives. Passions and emotions come into play when we discuss history, no matter how many other historians tell you and espouse to you. You must be detached from our subject. Don't believe me? Ask people about the American Civil War, and you'll see what I mean. There's no detachment there. But I digress. We cannot assume that everyone's on the same page and that everyone has the same level of knowledge. That's why a course in Western civilization is helpful to get everybody on the same page. Think of it this way. Julia Childs learned how to make scrambled eggs before she made soufflés. So our students, before they can be moving on to more focused, more detailed areas of history, let's make sure they know how to do the basics. The final reason for having a course like Western civilization allows you to have a counterpoint for discussion. This isn't just a bunch of writing from bunch of old dead guys. By reading what they say, you can actually find the people that may have been overlooked or silenced. And you need to see what they say to see how they treated others. Case in point, I'm going to give you an example. Once upon a time, there was a man whose country was truly down and out. National pride was at an all-time low, and unemployment was at an all-time high. People blamed the government for failing them. Now this man, he sought to turn it all around. Seeking political power, he was finally able to create jobs by putting people to work in different programs like building roads. He helped rebuild his economy from a crippling depression to making it a viable economic powerhouse. He gave his people a sense of accomplishment, unity, and pride, and they loved him for it. When war broke out, no one questioned his actions in interning thousands of people into concentration camps. It was necessary for national security. He was seen as a hero. Who was he? Now, if you said Hitler, you were wrong. It was FDR. Now, most people get caught on the term concentration camp and automatically equate it with Hitler. And you wouldn't be wrong. He did use them, and horribly. But Roosevelt did the same thing to a point. Everything Roosevelt did, including interning thousands of Japanese Americans in concentration camps, were done for the thought of national security. But Hitler and Roosevelt have a lot of other commonalities as well. They both brought their countries back from a crippling depression. They both created work programs that gave people a job, not a handout. It gave them a sense of accomplishment, pride. It also helped to boost the economy. Both interned people at concentration camps. The Nazi Party did take it a step further by killing their internees. Roosevelt didn't. But without courses like Western civilization, we'd have an entire generation blind to the past, both its triumphs and its tragedies. The voices of both the Japanese Americans and the Holocaust victims would be silent forever if we didn't have courses like Western civilization. And it goes back for any of them. It doesn't just have to be World War II. Without the counterpoint for discussion, they may miss both the economic and political ideas that have been tried and failed, or tried and succeeded. If they want to make a world a better place, then they need that counterpoint to know what has been done and what not to repeat. In the immortal words of George Santayana, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Having courses in Western civilization, hopefully, will help kids, both young and old, not to repeat the mistakes of history. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry for the length, and I'll see you next time.